It is time for your man's comeuppance. Okay, it's time for your man's comeuppance. I just need a second. Just need a second. In my preseason top 25, I listed the Florida State Seminoles as one of the 25 best teams in college football. 5 weeks into the season, CFB on Fox ran this graphic right here on Monday afternoon. And there is nothing like seeing a graphic on Twitter and realizing you've just shown up to your own roasting. Like a lost feral hog happening upon a roaring fire surrounded by 12 angry Florida fans who haven't eaten in days. Not only is Florida State winless, it's been featured on the number one ranked show's Money in the Bag segment. And its coach, Mike Norvell, received the dreaded vote of confidence before the first month of the season had even concluded. But it's also another demonstration that voters, myself included, are flawed. Even if I'm right, most of the time. NCAA recognized selectors and computers can make distinctions like Michigan is the number one team in the country after week 4. That's for real. The Colley Matrix has Michigan as the number one team in the country. It's also the same poll that awarded UCF the 2017 national title and the reason they get to hang the banner. This is why I lean on scoreboards. Scoreboards are empirical. Okay? It's the reason I push for a 16-team playoff with the 10 FBS conferences. As long as you have 10 FBS conferences, have 10 automatic qualifiers with 6 at-large bids for your plucky independents like BYU or Notre Dame, and your SEC runner-up types because you want to get those folks into the playoff. And really, what I want is a definitive road for all 130 teams to have a chance to play for a national title. Because I think it's wildly unfair that you or I, from our couch, determine who is and isn't worthy like kings unto our desires. Authority quite silenced by our brawl, and in rough of our opinions clothed. That last sentence, it's not me, it's Shakespeare, who no doubt had the playoff on his mind when writing that speech for Sir Thomas More on immigration and fairness. Look, winning matters, is what I'm saying. Running the table undefeated is an achievement so often discounted by the sport that it drives me nuts. But we have this system that we have, and since we do, we have to root on chaos for the chance at anything like, parity. And that is very important to me because there's a real chance for chaos this weekend with 3 high-profile top 25 matchups and one really interesting one where, we'll get to it just a second, that could throw the top 10 all out of whack if there are even 4 upsets, favorites to win, maybe? Allow me to explain. So, on the flight back home from Chicago, I asked myself a question, okay? And the question was, what would a 14 what would a 14 parlay look like if I had Cincinnati beating Notre Dame, Maryland beating Iowa, Ole Miss beating Bama, and Arkansas beating Georgia? And I got those odds because my homie at the Fox Sports digital gambling site, that's Andrew Lynch, shout out to him and the folks at Fox Bet, actually gave me the odds and the chances that those things could occur when I asked questions like this Marvel what if. Think of me as the watcher. What if Fox Bet's underdog plus 160 Maryland beats number 5 Iowa? Iowa is an absolute, they're a monster, but they're on an absolute tear. The Hawkeyes are not only one of the 5 best teams in the country, but have not lost a game since October 31st last year. In those 10 games, they've outscored opponents 329 to 117, which is another way of saying they play outstanding defense. They rank 3rd in the country in scoring defense, allowing just 11 points per game through a third of the 2021 season. That's not a fluke. The Hawkeyes haven't allowed more than 24 points in a game since November 23rd, 2018. That's 26 straight games of holding opponents under 25 points. That is the longest streak in the sport, and it's tied for the longest streak ever in the sport by an FBS team since 1990. It means the Hawkeyes could go into the history books simply by holding the Terps to 24 points or fewer, whether they win that game or not. The Terps, though, they put up points. Mike Locksley's squad threw up 37 on Kent State to improve to 4-0 this season. It's the first time in 5 years that Maryland has begun the season with 4 straight wins, and quarterback Taulia Tagovailoa has been one of the biggest reasons why the Terps have begun the season so hot. He threw for 384 with 3 TDs against the Golden Flashes, and his 1,340 yards passing are good enough for the best start by a Maryland quarterback since 1993. On the end of those passes, it's Dante Demas. He's pushing toward making history too. His 7 career 100-yard receiving games are tied for the second most all-time in school history. Add to this, Maryland is going into this game mad as hell at the Associated Press voters. It's the only undefeated Big Ten team that the AP refused to rank, while, the league's highest ranked team is the team they're going to face. Also, that spot where you got Clemson, you could have easily slotted Maryland there, and we could have avoided all this. That's what I'm saying. But the Fox Bet implied probability that Maryland beats Iowa, or the chance that they'll beat them, is just 38.5%. But that's actually pretty good in comparison to some of these other games. Which led me to this next one. What if number 12 Ole Miss, who's a plus 475 underdog, beats number 1 Alabama? Okay, so prior to Florida's 2-point loss to Alabama this season, Ole Miss gave Alabama the closest thing we would see to a real scare last October during this Tide's current 18-game winning streak, right? Last season, Lane Kiffin and his Matt Corral-led offense put up 647 yards and 48 points in a game the Rebels lost by double digits. You see what I'm saying here? Indeed, Ole Miss is putting up more yards, though, in points than Alabama and allowing fewer points than Alabama, right? So, check it. Alabama's putting up 465.5 yards per game. Ole Miss is putting up 635.5. However, with the turnover on the field and in the coaching staff, the season began with, at least for me, a nascent idea that Nick Saban's program might appear vulnerable. And all it has done is roll up its competition. And then there were those Gators, who were just as turned over on the field as Alabama was, and probably as talented. This year, though, Ole Miss comes into the game averaging more points with 52.7 than Alabama with 46.5. Heading into their top 15 matchup on Saturday, the Rebels are also allowing fewer points total, right? They're giving up 62 total on the season. Alabama's giving up 70, but again, they've only played 3 games. Ole Miss has scored 43 points in every game it has played, and that, coupled with Kiffin's warp speed offense, are the reasons to believe the Rebels can pull off the biggest upset of the year with a win in Tuscaloosa. Meanwhile, Alabama has become such a global brand that it would not surprise me to find out Alabama has a booster who is also a Saudi Arabian prince. Just wouldn't. But then there is this. Nick Saban has won 83 of 91 games as a head coach of the number 1 team in the AP poll. Ridiculous. And Alabama is 102-13 overall. What I'm saying is, it's hard to beat Alabama when they're the number 1 team in the country. It's been impossible to beat Nick Saban if you work for him. Check this out. Nick Saban also is a mere 23-0 against his former assistants. So what is the chance that Ole Miss beats Alabama? According to Fox Bet, the implied probability is just 17.4%. Okay, another game that I'm watching really closely. What if number 8 Arkansas, who is a plus 700 underdog, beats number 2 Georgia in Athens? Again, this shocked me. The spread on this game started at 18-5. Just ridiculous. 18 in the hook. The Razorbacks have beaten twice as many ranked opponents as the Dogs and have proven to be as capable as any team in the country, right? Especially these in the top 10. Arkansas plays the toughest schedule in the country, too, and is a team no one is excited to play this season. It also is a team with an institutional knowledge of Georgia. Razorback coach Sam Pittman is a former offensive line coach for UGA coach Kirby Smart. Perhaps it's that. Like Iowa, UGA is defensively outstanding. UGA has allowed just 23 points total this season. 23. That's 7.6 points per game. Or maybe it's that the Razorbacks haven't been undefeated this far into the season in 18 years. And few are sure they won't, make like Icarus and melt, like, flying too close to the spotlight. You know what I'm saying here? In a year where Arkansas has been stacking big-time wins, there's a reason to believe the Hogs can pull off the upset. But the Fox bet implied probability, chance that it could happen, is just 12.5%. Okay. What if Overdog Cincinnati beats Notre Dame? Check this out. This is absolutely shocking to me. Cincinnati is a minus 133 favorite to beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame Stadium. In fact, when I first asked about the possibility of this parlay, I was stunned to see that Cincy is the favorite. And you could probably understand why after what Notre Dame's defense did to Wisconsin. But check this out. The last time, the only time Notre Dame and Cincy played, none of us were even alive. The Fighting Irish beat the Bearcats 57-0 121 years ago on October 26th, 1900. And though the Bearcats are favored to win this game, Notre Dame is a candidate to put the money in the bag to the tune of $1.2 million. But after the Irish demonstrative win against Wisconsin at Soldier Field, where the defense created 5 turnovers, again, I have a difficult time picking Cincy to win this game. However, Indy nearly lost in overtime to a Florida State team that I just got done roasting myself for putting in the top 25 and a middling Toledo squad at home. The Bearcats smacked an Indiana team that began the season, as a preseason top 25 program, but they ain't played nobody since. But the Fox bet implied probability or chance that this could happen, Cincinnati beating Notre Dame, is an astounding 57.1%. That is to say, the odds are ever in their favor over there in Ohio. Wild. So finally, what are the odds that the 3 underdogs and the 1 favorite win this weekend? So a 14 parlay picking Maryland, Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Cincy has odds of winning set at, check this out, plus 20,830 with an implied probability, chance that it could happen, of 0.5%. Means a $1 bet to earn, could earn you, $209.30 total. A $10 bet would earn you $2,093. A $100 bet would earn you $20,093. And my favorite, a $1,000 bet wins $200,930. For those of y'all that still got student loans that you would like to pay off just this weekend. I'm not saying place a bet, though. All I'm saying is be the watcher and ask, what if? Hey, kinfolk, I appreciate you for watching. Subscribe here and ring the bell so you don't miss the latest upload to the channel. Also, be sure to watch more videos here, like FS1 Studio shows and the best from Fox Sports and Fox Sports Digital.